Hey there folks, it is me RandomJosh and I'm back again with another Random Monday video, and today we're going to be talking a bit about Heartstopper Season 2. So Season 2 of Heartstopper dropped on Thursday just gone, at least it is when I'm filming this. Hopefully I can get everything sorted for this. But yeah, it came out on Thursday and I was super excited. I mean, after season 1, I was like, I need to know more. I need to get into it, I need to see some stuff. And so I sat down and I binge watched pretty much the entire series in one day, in near enough a sitting. And by that I mean sporadically throughout the day. I had it on in the background and I was like watching it while working and all that fun stuff. But yeah, I kind of wanted to touch on a couple of the bits about it, my first thoughts, initial kind of reactions, and again just discussing some of the talking points because I think it is incredible first and foremost. But before I get into that, I do want to say there likely is going to be some spoilers throughout the discussion that I'll be having, so I don't want you to, if you basically haven't watched it and you are wanting to watch it, then please do kind of click away and then maybe come back after you've actually watched it so that I don't spoil anything for you. So yeah. Righty, so let's get into season 2. Oh my goodness, first and foremost, it's, you know, so many key topics are discussed throughout, which I think are incredible to see. We see a lot around the kind of development of the relationship of Nick and Charlie, of course. That is the kind of core centerpiece of the entire series. However, we do see a lot of like developments from some of the other characters as well, so it's a bit more opened up to the rest of like the cast members as well, which is nice to see. It's really good to see some like different storylines emerging, seeing a bit more of like the family atmosphere, learning a bit more depth about each of the characters. I think it's so incredibly important to see this stuff. So yeah, really loved that portion of it, I have to say. So the introduction of the ED storyline was really quite something. Like, looking through a lens of someone that hasn't really, like, I don't really have much experience or knowledge around those areas, but actually seeing it come to life through the storytelling was really quite interesting. And I've heard from, because I haven't myself read any of the books, it's on my to-do list, I need to purchase them, but I haven't quite got around to it yet. It's on my purchase list, so hopefully I'll be able to get that. But yeah, people who have actually read the series have mentioned that likely in season 3, because there is actually a season 3, Alice has confirmed this, so it is currently kind of in the works. We're probably going to be having to wait a really long time for it once again, but it's worth the wait. So yeah, from what I've heard, it sounds like that kind of topic is likely to be covered a bit more in season 3. Like, we've had a little bit of a taster of Charlie's disorder, and seeing it kind of come to life and like properly into fruition is like really interesting to see, like different perspectives on how people deal with certain scenarios in life, and just challenging and like approaching those really difficult subjects. I think it's not glamorizing it, it's not demonizing it, it's just bringing it to light and kind of having the conversations about those things, so that when, you know, people that we do know actually go through them, we're able to actually see, hang on a second, like let's approach this in a certain way. And it's nice to see that and see those kind of real life struggles weaved into the story there. We also have a lot around Nick finally, I don't want to say finally makes it sound like, you know, we've been waiting for years, but like we see a lot about how Nick is doing about the coming out side of things. Coming out is a very prominent subject within the community, so actually seeing how he particularly tackles it and, you know, actually goes through telling certain people first and then eventually everyone finds out. So it's just quite nice really to see like how he approaches it, the struggles that come alongside it, like the doubts, the kind of worry sometimes, the nerves, the anxiety, but also I think personally looking at it through the lens, Nick had a realistically okay time with the coming out to people, so that was nice to see. Doesn't happen all too often, but it does happen, so it is realistic in the sense. Many of us probably who had a bit more of a tougher time probably are sat there thinking, oh my gosh, this is so unrealistic, but times have moved on from when a lot of us probably have come out and things are a little bit more open and easier-ish. I say that very vaguely. Easier somewhat to approach. However, you do see some struggles through social media, which again, so prevalent, so realistic for our, I don't just want to say our generation, but for generations now. We have so much influence through social media, so seeing how much, you know, when we make those posts and the comments that we receive, they can really impact and affect us. And you could see that through Nick when he made the post on Instagram. It, you know, actively was quite challenging. Some of the comments weren't always aligned, shall we say. So there was an element of struggle, which was, I hate to say nice to see, but like, it felt real. And then I also wanted to talk a bit about like the other side of things. So like the Ben situation. So not gonna lie, this shows a lot about my personality, I guess, and how my mindset works. So when I originally watched it, I was like, oh my gosh, like we're seeing a different side of Ben. Like maybe he's actually finally coming to terms with who he is, with actually becoming a bit more accepting and maybe growing and evolving as a person. But then it wasn't until afterwards I was like looking through social media, I think it was on Twitter, X I should say now. Who's calling it that, let's be honest. Whole other conversation. But yeah, I was looking through that and someone on there had mentioned about how what Ben was actually doing was a bit more along the lines of emotional blackmail. And now everything starts to make a lot more sense. I have seen that firsthand before, so I do understand and know it. I think through my own personal experiences, I've always kind of had this instinctive nature to kind of try and see the best in people, which often is to my own detriment, as we've probably gathered by now. But yeah, people were kind of addressing the fact that when he did that big speech to like actually having the conversation with Charlie, it was a bit more like trying to regain control, take back that kind of controlling nature that he had originally over Charlie and reinforcing that on himself. So he saw what him and Nick had, well, what Charlie and Nick now has, I should say, and is almost getting a little bit jealous of it. So it's interesting again to see those different storylines, and again really made my brain start racking at the fact of, wow, how kind of, I don't want to say narrow-minded I was, but like how my mindset perceives those things differently. It's interesting to see those like different elements. And a similar thing with the Harry storyline actually. So seeing how he kind of went to this stage of like, because they even said it in there, like, is Harry sticking up for us? Like, I started to see a little bit of growth there. Many people probably don't fully see it, and I mean, again, we saw at the party when Harry tries to come in and like be a part of that group, they well, Charlie slams the door in his face and says like, leave, basically, which I thought was a bit weird because Ben was in there, but they wouldn't allow Harry, and I was like, okay, but I do see the points now that I'm like, okay, yeah, fair. He wasn't the best person initially. Do I see growth? I would like to hope so. But again, this is potentially just my personal optimistic mindset that I'd like to see a little bit of growth there. I'd like to see him kind of actually address the kind of wrongdoings that he's done and try to make amends. Who knows what could happen from the back of that, whether that's even going to be a reality. It's just me, the way that my mind envisions things is like, that's what I would hope. However, I know that is not reality for a lot of people, so meh. But we also had a lot of different other storylines as well. So we saw Darcy's mum as well, so seeing the kind of home that she comes from, seeing how she portrays herself as confident, really like out there, very outspoken in fact, but in reality it's the kind of polar opposite, and she does a really good job of like trying to hide and mask that kind of home life situation that she is currently in. I think, you know, seeing that again, I relate to it to an extent of like masking true feelings, trying to kind of again keep that optimistic mindset and like pushing through your own struggles as not to burden others with them, which I think, to be honest with you, is like a subject that comes up quite a lot in this series. It's, you know, people trying to, you know, don't want to burden others, and that is such a real feeling, like, that many people, again, me included, hello, we all kind of go through in our own ways. So it's really interesting and nice to see that, and it kind of opens those doors and makes you feel a lot more normal about it. I hate to use the word normal, because normality is like, whatever. But yeah, it's really nice to see that kind of like storyline develop, and I'd like to see where that kind of goes within the next series, because I'm hoping we kind of delve into a little bit more on these like individuals' storylines, because we've kind of almost across the board had like little tasters of everyone now. So we've seen a little bit of their lives, we've seen a little bit of like what is happening, the kind of struggles that they're going through. So like what I'm hoping will come in the next season is actually developing those further. Let's get more airtime for them. Let's see a little bit more of the rest of the cast, because I think they're all really amazing. Let's be honest. But yeah, so lots and lots of really, really important things coming up. And I think especially in today's age, like, it's so important to kind of address and highlight these situations. I won't lie, I know when Heartstopper season 1 came out, a lot of people were a little bit like there was some really, really amazing positive feedback. However, there were still a few people who were kind of a little bit more like, it's not feeling like that realistic, because again, high school, many of us growing up did not feel confident enough to be out in high school. I definitely did not when I was going through that stage. I was having my own like debates and situations of my own, and yeah, it just wasn't a comfortable place for me personally, and I know a lot of people also felt that same way. So seeing a kind of storyline set there felt a little bit odd to people like me, but it's also really good to see because it kind of shows again how the world is evolving and changing, and you know, it's not the same as when we potentially were growing up. Yes, there are still some similarities which were really nicely put and showcased, but it is showing that evolution side, which is really, really strong and really, really important. Another really amazing part was seeing a bit more around Isaac. So seeing his perspective and like that feeling of like uncomfortability around like everyone else basically in parties, and like everyone's kind of coupled up now within the friend group, so he's just kind of left there almost on his own, feeling a little bit outside, feeling a little bit kind of what's happening, like and then we kind of get to that stage of actually discovering maybe asexuality is on the cards. Again, I think that's going to be a really, really interesting side to view in the upcoming seasons, we can hope. Maybe there's more than just one more season. Maybe we can squeeze out even more. Who knows? But yeah, it's really, really quite interesting to see that side coming to fruition as well. So I'm really keen to see some more around that. But it was nice to see the kind of struggles and like the developments that Isaac went through to kind of come to that semi-conclusion, because I don't want to say it's a full conclusion yet. It still seems like it's very much like he's coming to terms with maybe that's where he sits and that's kind of like where his mindset is, but we've still got some discovery to go through. Like for a lot of us, I don't think ever it's like a quick that situation. A lot of it ends up being a lot of sit down, am I this, am I that, am I, oh, and like huge debates, and you know, it does take a while to actually process and get through all of this stuff. So yeah, there's definitely going to be a lot around that. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. But anyway, overall thoughts and feelings of season 2, I absolutely loved it. I am gonna have to 100% rewatch it again, because I'm sure there's like other bits I've kind of partially missed off. Maybe I haven't fully understood something. It's so easy to like miss some of those like small minute details, so it's definitely going to be one that I rewatch. And yeah, I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled for more around potential season 3 coming up. So yeah, I guess if you have got this far in the video, thank you first of all. But also, if you have got this far, I'm hoping that does mean that you have actually watched the season, and I'd like to know what your thoughts were. I want to know if there's any particular kind of storylines or topics that you've been really kind of like impacted by, that really you're loving to see. So yeah, let me know in the comments, I'm curious. But yeah, thank you so much for sticking tuned with today's video. I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, of course, please do head on down below, click on that subscribe button, join the family, and hit that notification bell also to be notified of when I do post future videos such as this. But yeah, just one last kind of, I guess, thank you to the cast, to like anyone that's been involved in this project. I think it is such an incredible thing to see, and like they've all done an incredible job at portraying the ins and outs of like what we see within the community, especially, but also just kind of adding that little bit of like light to the end of our tunnels at the moment, because it is, of late it has been very bleak, so having this little bit of like almost like a beacon of light just there, like, oh, we can dream. But yeah, I definitely did not cover everything off in full actuality. There are so many amazing parts of this series that I just have not gone into detail on, and you know, I could sit here probably, honest to God, for hours talking about it if I really spent a lot more time analysing critically on the series. I'm sure I'd have like pages of notes, but I just wanted to kind of actually have that first initial let's sit down, have a chat about it, and yeah, this is where we're at. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching, and I will see everybody, folks, in the next video. Peace out, bitches.